I really have no idea what I'm doing. So as you might have noticed, this is not a what if video of any kind. And by the title, you probably already know what I'm gonna be doing. So hello, my name is Michael, or Vegeta T23, or Jeet, whatever you want to call me. Today I'm quite literally just cleaning my PC right here. Yeah, you actually might learn something, because well, you've probably never seen an inside of a computer and how to disassemble it. On that note, let's just begin. Okay, so this is what we're working with. Not this, but this. It's a normal ass tower. Seen it in a stream where I installed an SSD, and you'll like see it again or whatever. And this video is completely unscripted, so I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll try to say as much as I can. So yeah, and it says no signal, no shit, and power off. Alright, so what we have to do now is unplug everything from the rear. So I have this weird ass thumb drive. It's yeah, not really in the best shape, so we're gonna remove that. And now what we have to do is start unplugging shit one by one. Keyboard, mouse, Ethernet, microphone, speakers, DVI, HDMI. And with that we can set it on a table. Power cable too. Alright, so this is what we're working with. As you can see, normal IO, graphics card, there's the fan, and we're gonna take everything off. Alright, so let's set it on its side. Be careful not to destroy something. And there are 2 thumb screws. Very easy to remove. And there we go. Covers off. Alright, so this is what we're working in here with. Power supply, CPU cooler, graphics card, and all that other shiz. And we're taking everything out. So I'm gonna start off with the easy parts, which is the GPU. Very straightforward. You might want to have screwdrivers at hand. This is a size 2 and this is size 1 Phillips. And for this, I'm gonna be using size 2 and put this off somewhere where you know you're not gonna lose them, because yeah, it's a good time for cleaning. Look how dirty it is. Right now, I think there's no latches down here. Yeah, there is nothing. So I can just pull it out. There we go, it's out. Look at this, what the fuck? Yeah, we're definitely gonna be cleaning this. Maybe put some new thermal paste on it as well. We have this front panel USB. Remove that. Also, don't grab by the wires. If you can, grab by the connector. Just wiggle it out. This is the front panel audio. So at this point, just remove everything you can. SATA 1, 2, SATA 3. Then this bulky ass can't really even get to it. Alright, EPS is off. EPS is for the CPU or the processor. Now this is that controls the front panel shit. And I know there are multiple of these, so I have a little trick. Use your damn manual. I have a manual right here. Right here, as you can see, we have everything. So this is useful for when you're dealing with your computer and such. Fan removed. I'm gonna unplug it as I'm already doing it. Look how dusty it is. Now for this 20 plus 4 or 24 pin ATX connector, you might want to hold the board as you're unplugging this one. It should take some force, but here it is. ATX connector out. And now we can remove the screws. And make sure you do not lose these screws, because if you can't mount your motherboard back, and if you lost all of them, yeah, well, you're in deep shit. Also, make sure not to scrape the board, because in worst case scenario, you will probably ruin it. Don't just eyeball where the screws are. You're better off just finding them, getting it on the first try. or at least trying to line it up, and then go for it if you can't see them. Because if you gouge it, it's game over. Okay, now just lift that up and remove from the case. Just move all these out of the way. And the board is out. So let's move on to this little fan. And the fan is very simple, literally 4 screws. These are self-tapping screws. Alright, so funny thing is, the fan that I'm about to show you belonged to my old CPU cooler. Yeah, you can see AMD. That's literally what cooled my CPU for a good 4 to 5 years. Alright, now power supply. Also, again, 4 screws. You might be wondering what these empty slots are. That's for when you want to flip it upside down. And hold on to every single screw. Organize them wherever. Whether you have a screw tray or something, organize your screws. Alright, now when this thing is unscrewed, flip it back up. Go on the other side. Forgot to pull out the I/O shield, it just pops out. But what I want to say is there are also thumb screws on here. Here and down below there's another one, same place as the other panel. Just unscrew them, no big deal. And here's the mess we're working with. So I'm just gonna pull these out from their respective holes. Every single wire, everything that's on the inside. We're gonna reroute all of these. Now I'm gonna plug all the drives as well. Pull the whole power supply out while I'm at it. And pull all of these out. And the power supply is out. Almost. Okay. Power supply is out. Oh boy. That is plenty dusty. Alright, now for the drives. And the drives, this, just pull from the underside, right here. Just take a little force, just tug it out. And remove all these wires from. And what we have to work with here is this fan, which again, held on by 4 screws. These are actually special screws, so you don't want to lose those. But I know these are from the fan, so I'm not too bothered by it. And it's out. Holy shit, look at this. It's like dust bunnies all over the place. Alright, now for the drive. Alright, time to clean all this. I'm using glass cleaner for this part. The top looks halfway decent, but the bottom... Okay, that's not going that hard off. It's actually going pretty decent. Yep, clean your systems, boys. Alright, so now it's time to go and deal with this. Now, you don't want to set this clean on a table, so you kind of need some protection. So I'll just be using this box. It's from this motherboard anyway, so I can work on it. Alright, so we have the motherboard, and what we want to do is straight up just remove the RAM as well. We already removed half of it, so might as well. I have these HyperX sticks. DDR3 1866 upgrade to 2.4 or 2400. Hold on to these, you'll need them if you want your PC to boot, that is. Alright, so now we have the cooler left, and that's the only thing that's left. So Phillips 2, same thing. Just unscrew it. Alright, and now with a little wiggle, it should come right out. And look at the dirt on this thing. Wow. Alright, so we have the block off, and here's the CPU, this thing in the middle. Now you want to clean this, and the way to clean it is to get something like this. This is alcohol and these are tissues. I totally don't use these for yeah. And remove every speck of thermal paste there is, even from the edges. Make sure you don't get any on the board itself. Actually, you know what? I'm removing it. So just pull this tab up and remove it. Simple as that. So that's the CPU. That's it. Now I'll remove the thermal paste from the edges, or at least try and like fail miserably. Make sure you don't drop this at any cost, otherwise you have a really bad day of trying to put the pins back together. And try not to get it on the pins. This is an AMD A8 7650K. Really old processor, FM2 platform, as seen by down below. And it has pretty much a lot of things on it. But, you know, who cares? It's a CPU. No one's gonna bother. Alright, so right now the motherboard is clean. As you can see, when I move this, the pins kind of just move around. Just gonna put that back down. And I'm gonna... Actually, don't even gonna remove, I'm just gonna clean it as is. I'm gonna be using a toothbrush. Yeah, I know. Not mine, but it'll do. Captain Toothbrush to the rescue. See how easy it is to clean it off with a toothbrush? Just with a toothbrush. Look at this. Already clean like 95% of the way. And with a little bit of well, trying to clean, look how clean it is. This is just residue from the fan, don't worry about it. Doesn't really do much. But this thing is clean. Now it is completely clean. Alright, next up are the fans. Next up, GPU. So how to clean this? Well, we're gonna disassemble it. So let's start with that right away. Okay, so we have to unscrew this screw. That is definitely not a good sign when there's like dust bunnies all over this thing right here. Also everything else. Okay, now we're gonna unscrew this. the fresh thermal paste on the GPU. Oh yeah, these are special screws. Don't lose a single one of them, because you'll have a bad day again. Wow. When the HDMI feature has to be written on the freaking graphics card. Now let's actually mount it to the board. So for that, I have this little neatish thing. This is something called thermal paste. And just put a tiny ass dab right there. A little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Close it up. Sort of like that. Make sure you do it in a crisscross pattern, otherwise you might have a bad day of it not being equal. All of a sudden you're like, what the fuck? There we go. GPU installed. Shit, I forgot to plug the fan in. I always forget that. Ah, there we go. Thought it was gonna be a nightmare. Now, on to the rest. Or rather, the install of the other shit. So, we have this, which we're gonna install after we install the CPU. The way these go in, or any other AMD processor, is there's one pin missing right here and over here on this side of the board, or there is this little arrow right here and the arrow right here, which is basically the same thing as the missing pin, and just drop it in. No force required. I wanna wiggle it a little, pull it back down while you're doing this, latch it up. All good. Alright, so now time for the cooler. You might want to put that thermal paste I showed you how to use earlier. So something like this. Apply it. Tiny dab. Kind of like this. Sort of like the size of a pea. Or like about yay much. And then line it up. Start screwing in. Make sure you tighten these in a cross pattern a little bit at a time, so until you feel a little bit of resistance. At this point, it's kind of no torque. Now when you did this cross section, tighten it to what is recommended, like 1/16 of a turn, at least in my case. Every cooler is different. You might have latches that kind of just snap in on one side, and then you push it on the other side and you pull the latch down. In some cases there might be kind of like twist caps. For example, those stock Intel coolers. There we go. Give it a little wiggle to make sure it's on there. And inspect. Oh, this is spot on. Spot on. I missed this little spot right here. All good. So now, time for RAM. So take your RAM stick and as you can see, there is a notch here and a notch there. See, it's kind of like offset. So line it up, push in. You'll notice that it's pushed in all the way with both of these tabs, or you hear 2 clicks. So I'm gonna push one side at a time. So that's 1 click. And that's the other. So just kind of push it in. There we go. Memory installed. Alright, so with everything installed, let's get the computer back. Alright, so the first thing is the IO shield. This is pretty straightforward. It actually goes over here. So if I flip this around, you will see a little channel here. And make sure you're putting it in correctly. So in my case, the audio things are down below, and the PS2 ports and these 2 USB are on that side. Just kind of get it behind here, push it in from all 4 corners. See, it kind of clicks in there. Alright, now we're gonna go with a power supply. Power supply, in goes. Make sure that this fan is down, so it faces down. So something like this. So remember, we have these 4 screws. So what you want to do now is take these cables, just pass them all through here. Just kind of jam in there. Alright. So right now we're going to do some cable management. So we have these SATA and Molex CPS. This is for the GPU or graphics card. TX cable, and these are the SATA cables. Okay, so the first thing I'm just gonna do at this point is install this fan. So PCIe connectors right here, ATX right here, everything is here. So what I would suggest is plugging the EPS in before anything. Try not to make a mess. Think through the IO, make sure you can see all the screws. Now there they are. They're all in there. And now we can finally tighten this. Just kind of tighten it down. Don't need to get it any tighter because this is very thin metal and these are brass standoffs. Not really high quality. So as far as we can get it, that is all good. There we go. 24 pin. Align this properly so it goes in all the way. Push it down till it clicks. Very nice. Alright, so now when we got that done, we can start plugging in some other stuff. Push it down on this side and allow it to pass through on this other side. There we go. Done. Okay, that's tightened down. I shouldn't have done that. Alright, time for the cleaned up graphics card. And push it. Sometimes you might have a little latch, so you might have to pull that down. Alright, so we plugged everything we can back in. Okay, I legit can't find them. Everything is dusty. Ah, there we go. We can close this shit up so no one will be able to see it. Okay, so since some people don't really trust me on most things, I'm gonna show you that this thing actually works after all the work I've done to it. Let's start by connecting the essentials. Alright, so everything is connected up, and I will show you that it indeed works by it does this all the time, don't worry about it. Working like a charm. See? Still working as it should. Everything loads up correctly. So I call this a job well done. And so there it is. As you can see, OS is running mostly correctly. I can actually do everything I can, playing the big black. And yeah, I'd call this a job well done. So I know I started like being shit like most of the way there, like half of the way through, but still I'd say I've done most of it on camera. Everything else was just improvising. And as you can see, everything works great, so I'll see you soon. You've gotta be kidding me.